Hi, Nancy.
Hello, how are you tonight?
Good, thank you.
Good, 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 good. It was a beautiful day.
It is.
It was pretty special for this time of year, for sure.
She has made sure I and our guests are in the right place at the right time.
Are you on the agenda?
No, not tonight. I can't see. There's a problem with wearing glasses. I can't see. Let's see who else is here. Oh, not my president.
Hello, this is Victor. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Great.
Yes,
Here, Jim's on.
I can hear everyone.
Great.
So can I.
Can't see everybody though.
No, some of you don't have video on, I don't think.
Can you see my screen share?
Yep,
I do see your screen share.
Okay.
Hi, Jim.
Hi, Al.
I don't see Al, but maybe it's the way I've got my screen set.
Can you see me?
I see Matt. I see everybody.
Do ya?
Yeah.
Hi, Jim. It's the
I don't-
first time I've ever seen you. I thought you were just a fictional character.
I am kind of, actually.
If you are, please enter your. Thank you. You are the only participant in the conference.
I love the music.
You want me here or over there?
No, you're good there. Can you,
You want me over there?
no, can you
No, I'm
go?
serious.
No, you're good. We're live right there on YouTube. You can sit over there. That's
All right.
just so I can see the screen.
Can you help me for a minute? You're muted. Alt A. Alt.
Lovely, lovely.
If you prefer me over there, I go.
No.
I'm serious, though.
No.
I'm logged on to Zoom.
No, we watch it.
All right.
Sell my house.
All right, Mom, what do you think about this kitchen? French influence. I like the black tile. It's really pretty.
Very good. So you like everything, the courts, the cabinets, everything.
I do. I like it a lot. Hopefully everyone else does. I like the grass. Oh, it's really nice. I like the color of the house. That looks like the lighting's been all updated. So nice. Hi, how are you? Good. All right. Here's a flyer.
We're asking $479,900.
Ooh, I like the kitchen. I think they do sell cabinets. Oh, I like that. I would never think of that. I like the
watching TV.
The water is really nice too. On the bathroom. Wow, look at this nice shower. Oh, wow.
I think I'm muted.
Whoever's, make sure everyone's on mute unless you're talking, especially the audience members. I mean, public audience. It's gonna be a shame.
There we go.
Victor, this is Nancy.
Hi, Nancy.
Hi, how are you today?
I'm well.
Good. I can only see 4 people on my gallery view. Do you know how to change that?
Is, gallery view?
Yeah,
The arrow doesn't show up on the right, or where's it at for you?
I'm on
There's
a
usually-
Mac. Okay,
If you hover over one of the, like the furthest screen to the right or the left, there might be an arrow that shows up, and you can click that arrow and it can,
okay. Okay.
do you see that?
Yeah, I still don't see Al.
No.
I'm making it bigger and but I don't want to cover up you.
I don't see Al either.
Oh, okay. I see John and Matt and myself and Tim Hudson
I
and
see Al.
Jen and Margot. You see Al?
Yep.
Okay.
You do?
It's just,
I
it
can
just says,
6 people and
not
I
as-
should be able
it
to.
just says,
Okay, I'll play with it here.
It's be a different format tonight.
Yeah, something's
Yeah, something's a little different.
a little different for me. That's okay. I can see who's talking, so that's fine.
That's right. You can hear everyone. That's important.
Yep, that's all right. I'll figure it out later. Thank you, Victor.
All right.
Nancy, this is, oh, go ahead, never mind.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, Nancy, if you're on it, looking at it from a different device, the
Yeah.
number of people will change, because when I was on the meeting last time on my desktop computer, I could see everybody all on screen.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
Now
I
that
can
I'm
see
switched,
talking. I mean, if I can't see Jeff, but when one of us talks, I can. So, okay, thanks. I'll mess with it. Thank you.
All right. Well, it's 7:01, so I'd like to call this meeting to order. Nick, if you could call the roll for me.
Al
Here.
John Cox,
Here.
John Leo,
Here.
Nancy Rondell,
Here.
and Matt O'Gara.
I am here.
We do have a quorum.
Very good. All right, our first order of business tonight is the minutes from the open session on November 16th. Any comments or changes we need to make?
Make a motion to approve. They look good to me.
The only thing that I found looking at them is on page 1 where it says council members present. It says Al Dyke, D-I-K-E instead of Al Dyka, but short of that, I will second John's motion to approve.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right there. I missed that.
Good catch, John.
Hey, got to earn my $5 a meeting, you know.
Changes are noted, and I will do a roll call as we're all working remotely here. John Cox,
Yes.
Matt O'Gara,
Yes.
Al Dyka,
yes.
Nancy Rondell,
Yes.
and John Leo.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Perfect. All right, and now we have to approve the minutes from our little closed session from November 16th. Any comments or changes?
They look good to me. I would make a motion to approve.
And I'll second.
Thank you.
Did I have a second from Nancy Rondell?
Yes, you did.
Okay, quick roll call again. John Leo,
Yes.
John Cox,
Yes.
Al Dyka,
Yes.
Matt Bogera,
Yes.
Nancy Rondell.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Excellent. And Nick, do the bills look fine? Or did the bill committee look at the bills or? not?
I did look at them real quickly. I looked at a printout of them later this afternoon, and to me, it's a first time shot, but to me, they looked fine.
I'm looking at them now and they look fine to me too. I'll make a motion to approve the bills and pay them.
Very good. I guess I'll second that.
And a roll call. Matt Bogera,
Yes.
Al Dyka,
Yes.
John Leo,
Yes.
Nancy Rondell,
Yes.
and John Cox.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Excellent. All right, citizens' comments. Anyone on the Zoom have a comment for council that's not on the agenda? Once, twice, 3 times? How about anything on the YouTube?
I don't see anything on the YouTube.
Excellent. And is there anyone on the phone tonight?
There's someone playing elevator music.
Yeah, that's fine. All right. Well, I guess we'll move right into the city manager section and jog right through.
All right, Mayor, thank you. So the first item agenda is a resolution in recognition in honor of Dave Irish, founder of the Irish Boat Shop. He passed away a few days ago. And I think he served as a mayor and a council member of the city. So we thought it would be, given his commitment to the city as well as the community, we figured it'd be a good gesture to honor him and his life and his dedication to the city of Harbor Springs. So we drafted a resolution and we made one minor adjustment to that resolution. And we have the new resolution on the screen. It just, we mistakenly had put 400 Bay Street as his address when that's the address of Irish Boat Shop. So after a discussion or any words, would entertain a motion to pass or adopt this resolution.
I would make a motion to approve.
I'll second that.
Okay, I heard a motion by Councilman Leo, seconded by Councilman Dyka. Sorry, John Cox, I heard you come in at Dyke third, but.
Al's fine.
Nancy Rondell,
Yes.
John Cox,
Yes.
Matt Bogera,
Yes.
John Leo,
Yes.
Al Dyka.
Yes.
Motion carried. And I'll gladly put my signature to the resolution.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Nick.
All right, agenda item 3B. Blue Ribbon Events, they applied for a application earlier this year for an arts show, art event that took place, and I believe that the weekend after Labor Day on Zorn Park. They came to council. Council had a brief discussion about following COVID rules. But we also had a slight discussion at that meeting, as well as a meeting several months ago about a private wedding that wanted to take place on the Marina Green space. And at both of those discussions, council really indicated that they would like to further or later on in the year discuss in more detail whether or not we should allow private events and for-profit events to use public space for their events. I mean, a private event, as you see in the packet, would essentially be an event that closes off a park or a section of a park to the public for a given period. So an organization or individual could have a wedding, a birthday party or whatnot. While a for-profit event is loosely defined here as a business or a company that's essentially making a profit off of using that park space. So we were gonna do, Denny and Parks Director and I, we were gonna do some more research and come back this winter with some ideas for council, but Blue Ribbon Events applied in October for another 2 events for next year, May and August. And so we really didn't have that time to delve into this for-profit versus private versus nonprofit events and whether or not we should allow them. And if so, what should we charge them for doing so? So we very briefly, Denny put together some talking points. And before we go into the Blue Ribbon event, because we looked at the event, Kyle, Margot, Nick, and I, we all had our opinions on there, but essentially the events themselves don't really pose any logistical challenges. But really the question that we wanted council to answer first was whether or not we would, the city wants to allow for-profit events and private events for using public space, and if so, what should we charge? And I feel like there's a couple different thoughts here. One is that you allow a for-profit event to make potentially thousands of dollars off of closing a park, and while the park might not necessarily be closed because it'd be open to the public to attend that event, you're essentially preventing the public, the taxpayers who pay for that park, from utilizing that public park space for other purposes, whether it's just picnicking or passing a football or whatever they may be doing in that park space. So essentially the for-profit would be, or even if it's a private event, they would be closing off this space to the public, where the difference between a for-profit and a private event is the for-profit, they're obviously going to profit off of it. And is that fair to the taxpayers and to the nonprofits and community organizations that traditionally have hosted events here? What would happen if we continue allowing for-profit events? Will all our weekends be gobbled up by for-profit events and private events wanting to utilize park space? So these are, I think, an important decision for council to make before we come back with a list of different types of applications that we're going to have for different types of events to apply for, organizations to fill out certain applications to apply for hosting their event or their activity. So I think before we go into the Blue Ribbons events in detail, I think first we should consider whether or not we want to continue allowing these types of events. We haven't had many. Last summer, 4 Blue Ribbons came and had their event and we approved it. And we said we would want to have a further discussion about that later. So I'll open it up to council members to discuss or ask questions, but I think we should first talk about whether or not we want to allow these types of events before we go into looking at Blue Ribbons event.
Makes sense. Anyone want to start?
The only thing I could say is if we look at allowing such events, we ought to limit it to what parks. Where, pick a couple parks maybe, where such events could be allowed. But I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence, I guess, honestly.
Right.
I would prefer to not allow those events. I think the way we've done it up to now, just allowing nonprofits and local people to use parts of the park or all of the park is fine, but I don't think that it should be available to rent for profit.
I, of course, have an opinion on it. I don't think we should allow for-profit, especially a non-local for-profit. I think we need to be extremely careful of that. I think we're opening a door to a lot of issues that will monopolize our parks. I mean, we're obviously a beautiful spot. People like to be here in the summer. And I think for local things like, oh gosh, the chili cook-off thing that we did with local restaurants, and there was a brewery thing that we've done, wine tasting for local places. I don't really have an issue with those, especially in the fall when the parks aren't particularly busy. But I think to have non-local for-profit events tying up our parks, I don't think that's a good idea.
Okay. Yeah.
This is a really big topic. I think it's really complex. But for the topic for the discussion today, I agree. I don't think that we have a situation where we want to support for-profit events. I can't think of a situation where that would make sense to the city, to visitors, and certainly not to the residents. So without further thought, and I don't think this is the kind of topic we want to just make a decision on, having considered this information in one meeting, I would agree with no to for-profit events.
Well, we have to be careful with how we classify for profit because the chamber holds events and those are all for profit. I mean, all those events in the parks are for profit. So will we be basically telling the chamber no more events like the Brew Festival,
right,
all that kind of stuff? So I think we got to be careful there.
Good. I think, John, that's a really good point, and that's part of the complexity. Is that for profit or is that a fundraiser for a local organization?
Right.
I believe that the chamber is classified as a nonprofit. So when we talk about for-profit versus nonprofit, so you might be raising money and getting a profit from it, but if your organization is a type of nonprofit or a community organization classified by the IRS or such,
Right,
then or the state, then I would suggest, yes, you're a nonprofit, but a for-profit is one that's not classified as a 501c3.
Right.
501c3 or C4.
Well, I just think we got to be careful how it gets worded. So
it's a good point, and that's part of the complexity. And then, is that a local nonprofit or is that any nonprofit?
right.
Right.
Can we think of a for-profit that we would want to allow? I'm just trying to think of a for-profit situation that we would want to allow to use our parks.
That's what I tried to do, Nancy, and I couldn't come up with one.
Yeah, I can't think of one. The schools, the chamber, those are all considered nonprofit. I don't think even with a local winery, if they wanted to come in and it was a profit event, I'm not sure we would want to even do that if it was for that winery to make money on.
Correct.
Right.
So
I'm in agreement there.
Okay. Well, make a motion that we.
Matt, can we open it up to public comment?
Are we at this point where where I can make a motion?
Matt, I would suggest, Mayor, that we open this up to public comment because we do have a few chats on the Zoom, and we also have Danielle from Blue Ribbon Events as attendance in case she wants to as well say something. So I first will read it. I don't know if everyone has read the chats, but I'll read it for the record that were to everyone. Dana Mulder asked, do we not have local organizations who would conduct art shows that would benefit our community? Bonnie Culp said, didn't the high school used to do an art show in the summer? This was in conjunction with the chamber. I don't know for sure. I would love for the chamber to have host some sort of art show. Karen Stroh says, sounds like there needs to be clear criteria as to what is allowed. Margot DeMoose says, the 4th of July art show is put on by the Harbor Springs schools and serves as a fundraiser for the schools. There's also the car show. The chamber is considered a nonprofit 501c6 by Bonnie Culp. And Denny McDermott, great point. I think we are good. So I guess at that point, I don't see anything on YouTube. So I guess anyone on Zoom that wants to comment.
I'm trying to raise my hand. I don't know how to do that.
Just feel free. Is that Danielle?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, she just went mute.
Okay, am I good?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm looking for the raise hand thing, but I'm not seeing it anywhere. Am I good to talk?
Yes.
Yes, you are.
Okay, so I understand your concerns. One, I am a local girl. I don't happen to live in Harbor Springs, but I do live in Bel Air, which is northern Michigan. So I do consider that whole area to be my home. With Harbor Springs, as far as I get your point about not wanting to have for-profits to be able to come in. I do work with a lot of other cities. Last summer, I was the only person in the state of Michigan. I had 18 successful COVID shows. Everything was safely social distanced. We did not have any hot spots or anything coming out of any of the locations that we did any of our events. Those cities included Escoda, Benton Harbor, and these are actual cities. These are not private venues. So this is Escoda, Benton Harbor, Alden, Pellston, and Hillman. I think I got them all. I worked with some private venues as well. Some of those locations are free. Some of those locations charge me. Some of those locations, I do things in partnership with them, like the not-for-profit component that we were adding to the proposed wet paint caution event, which would, a portion of proceeds would go back directly to one of your local not-for-profits. So I understand all of the avenues that you guys are discussing. I will say that I'm also in the process of becoming a not-for-profit as well. So that would cover your avenue on the not-for-profit, because we have a whole art component that we're doling out money for booths for people, assistance during COVID and other things, that this will all be handled through our not-for-profit. So in looking forward to my events, I might not be a local Harbor Springs not-for-profit, but by the time my events go on there next year, I will be a registered not-for-profit. So that would kind of cover your avenue on that. For being not living in Harbor Springs, I don't live in Harbor Springs, but one of the aspects of why we looked at your event there and your location there was, I am an artist and I've participated in the 4th of July spring for probably the last, I think, 8 years. This was the first year when they started canceling everything. We started looking at how do we tackle this a little bit different for the artists that are out there. So we came up with a plan that y'all approved last year to be able to present a smaller scaled boutique event. I'm known for my boutique events. I don't want 150 artists like the high school does at my events. It's harder for artists to shine. And a lot of my artists that participate with me, if you attended our event last year, are very advanced in their fields that they've chosen to specialize in. And these artists don't maybe do shows every weekend, but they like to interact with the customer on a more individual basis. That's kind of the difference between the two art shows with what the high school does and what I do. I also cap off my categories. You'll never see 44 jewelers at one of my events. It won't happen. I have more like 7 or 8 or 9, again, so you have more broad variety of what is being offered out there. So I would hope in moving forward, if I can assist you in any way to discuss the fees that the other cities, towns, or states charge me, I'm more than willing to help you out with that. And I can also show you how I do partner with the local areas to be able to do things that benefit their community. In Escoda, we have a special art program that we came up with that all of the electric boxes in the state, in this township of Escoda, are going to be decorated with art that the high schoolers or middle schoolers or elementary school kids have done, and they've been judged, and those are the what's going to be going downtown to start some new art installations for them. So that's the way I partnered with Escoda. Even though I do pay a fee for their fields, I have a wonderful working relationship with them, and I want that to continue in the future. So again, if you have any questions for me, as you can see, I have the gift of gab, and I'm more than willing to answer anything you might have.
Thank you.
Thank you. I wonder if it wouldn't be worth maybe looking at partnering with the chamber or the downtown business group.
And I do talk to the chamber, and I reached out to her a couple, I want to say 4 or 5 weeks ago, for recommendations on the not-for-profit that she would suggest that we work with for that plein air event to get the portion of the proceeds of the paintings that sell from the artists.
Danielle, this is Dennis McDermott, Parks and Rec Director. I just had 2 questions. One is, I read over the application several times, and the part about picking a partially being a nonprofit was kind of vague, so I wasn't really sure where that was going.
Okay.
And second, it looks like your registration for Harbor Springs is already open. Without the events actually being approved yet.
Yeah, well, I put my applications out in-house on the prospective events. You're my only 2 events that are not approved thus far.
Okay, but they're still posted on your website though.
Well, yeah, because my artists like to plan so that they know, and then they reach out to me and we talk about things. They know my events, like if it's a first annual, they know that until it's concrete, it's not concrete on a first annual.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mayor, we do got a comment on YouTube from Nikki Law. I would agree that we should only keep our events in the parks to only local nonprofits, but not for profits. I think there are so many people that would want to use our parks for events for profit. It would use up a lot of our parks throughout the summer. And then we also had a question chat from someone, from Karen Strow. What is a speaker's business?
Blue Ribbon Entertainment.
Danielle, I have a follow-up question. You said you're going to be a nonprofit. So is, for May, this plein air event, the Caution Wet Paint, as well as the August event, the Invitational, is, so you'll be a nonprofit when those go forward. So you won't be associated with Blue Ribbon Events, or Blue Ribbon Events will be a nonprofit?
Blue Ribbon Events will be the managerial portion of it. What happens is, because we are doling out so many funds in prize money and booth fees and things like that, it ends up in what we're doing in the local communities. It's better for us to be a not-for-profit because we don't have a lot of profits.
I guess I didn't really understand the answer in a sense. Will Blue Ribbon Events still be in charge of this event, and will they be a nonprofit?
So normally what happens is there's other associations out there, like Patty Narosny from Hotworks. She has her Hotworks, which runs her events. And then you have a not-for-profit component that ends up, it basically doing all of the goodwill in your community. It goes through that. In the case of an art show, like this year, we didn't give out a lot of prize money, but what we're giving out in 2021 is a lot more. That ends up cutting into the back end of all of our things. As not a lot of people in your crowd might be aware, I am a show promoter, but I'm an artist first. I've been an artist for probably 15 to, 18 years, traveling all across America. That's kind of how this all started 18 months ago. Then COVID hit and things exploded in the benefit of my artists, because I was the only person that went to bat for them in the cities and things to be able to get them back working. That's basically how my business is only, I think to date it is 19 months old.
Okay, thank you. So will Blue Ribbon Events be getting a profit from these two events?
Blue Ribbon Events will run the managerial side of it. So just like an admin position would be paid, Blue Ribbon Events is getting paid to do that for them. Does that make sense?
So would you be resubmitting this under a different name? Because right now it's submitted under Blue Ribbon Events LLC.
Yeah. If I need to do that, that's what I'm going to do. But right now, I'm an LLC right now. That's why all my paperwork gets filed under my LLC. I'm not a not-for-profit. It's not a 2-minute thing for a not-for-profit. It takes weeks to be able to get that to come together.
Yes, understood. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So it sounds like to me she's just going to create a nonprofit to schedule these events and then pay Blue Ribbon, which is her money, or her business, and that's how she's going to make her money. So it's basically the nonprofit's paying her. So it is kind of a roundabout deal for a for-profit business.
And is Blue Ribbon actually, where is its home base? Is it in Florida?
I have two. I live half the year in Michigan and I live half the year in Florida.
Where is Blue Ribbon and LLC?
I'm an LLC in Florida.
In Florida. Okay,
Yes.
thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, any more discussion from council? Okay,
Not for me, thank you.
All right. Victor, do we have anything on the YouTube?
Nope, just Nikki Law's comments that I already read out.
All right, and we covered the Zoom conversations.
Yep.
All right. Anyone want to do a motion? No. All right, I'll do it.
Matt, what are we talking about? Are we talking about Blue Ribbon specifically, or are we talking about what we were talking about before with nonprofit?
I think we're still on the allowing
Nonprofit.
profit or nonprofits to do business on city property.
Thank you.
And then, yeah, once we go through this motion or make this decision, that'll answer the blue
Yeah.
ribbon discussion.
Thanks.
All right, well, I'm going to make a motion that the city of Harbor Springs only allows nonprofits to operate events on city property. Yeah, I guess that would be the motion.
And could I just clarify again, is this all nonprofits or are they local nonprofits with some connection to the city?
I think we could probably make it local nonprofits.
I'd like that.
Yeah, I think at least at this stage, I think that's what we should do.
Right.
And then are we excluding private events? Are we talking about just public events now? Is that correct?
That's correct. That's the way I.
Okay, that's good.
And we
Yeah,
can
that's good then.
So I would, with that clarification, then I would second Matt's motion.
Okay, I will do a roll call. I'm going to read off what I feel was stated by Mayor Bugera. Motion by Mayor Bugera, second by Councilman Leo, to only allow local nonprofits to operate on city property park areas.
And Mayor, may I just clarify, by local, you meant local as in what connection, some sort of connection to Harbor Springs? And do we mean Harbor Springs area, the city? I just want to, local can mean different things for different people.
True.
Right.
I would think Harbor Springs area personally, because I mean, the city is small.
Yep.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Harbor Springs area.
Okay.
Okay, with that addition to the motion, I will do a roll call. Nancy Rondell,
Yes.
Al Dyka,
Yes.
John Cox,
Yes.
John Leo,
Yes.
and Matt Bugera.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. So that means that the second half of the conversation would be the review of the blue ribbon events does not need to go forward at this point.
Moot.
All right. And I think we'll come back then, Denny will have some more discussion later about private events potentially, and then maybe an enhanced updated application process. There's other discussion points that we didn't get to today that we should get to later about, do we continue a first come, first served basis? Do we have deadlines? How do we don't have that many problems. We have generally the same traditional events taking place, but we just want to be prepared for the future in case we do have these issues pop up again. So.
And also, Victor, just to touch on that, I've been researching some of our other neighbor municipalities, and some of them even charge for nonprofit events. Not that we would make a profit, but just cover our costs for the extra work involved in the event. That would also be something for a discussion for another day.
Yep. Thank you, Denny. All right, moving on to item 3C, the DDA downtown tree grates or tree base project update. So the DDA discussed going forward with the tree grates proposal. As you know, they came earlier in the year with the proposal, and after with some bids, and the bids came up higher than expected because there was a lot of additional elements added on to the tree base project. So now Margot is going to talk a little bit about a couple different options they would like to discuss going forward, and to see if council would give the go ahead to allow the the DDA to bid out those projects if there's one avenue, one way that the council wants to proceed. And I don't think the council needs to make a decision tonight. I think we can, when we review the budget and the CIP, we can look at this a little more holistically and then decide how we want to go forward. But that's up to the council. I think it's good that we're getting this update from the DDA. So at least we have that in the back of our minds for when we do discuss the budget and the CIP on December 14th. So Margot, I'll let you take it away. Margot, we can't hear you.
Hear me.
We can.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Blame it on the city computer.
Oh, cheap. Oh,
Now, I just wanted to give a recap a little bit on the Tree Great project and where it stood. So in June of 2020, we put the Tree Great project out to bid after a directive from council to basically investigate and look into solving the solution for the tree bases and kind of the general overall look that it gotten pretty messy and after the Garden Club had stopped participating in maintaining them. And that so at that point, the DDA went and decided to go with the Tree Great option of replacing the 38 trees on Main Street, adding grates. And at that time, we went for the full scale project, removing the first flag of the sidewalk, adding electric beach trees for holiday lighting to ease that situation, along with removing, salvaging, and installing all new trees. So when the bid came back in June, it came back much higher than we expected. At that point, the project had also grown quite a bit. So after re-talking with council again, we got another directive of let's maybe look at some of the other options and scaling it back and what way we could proceed. So at this point, we've really talked to a lot of different people, whether it's from Benchmark, who I'd worked very closely with, along with several vendors and nurseries and all of that. And it really looks we have two options. And the first option is the most scaled back lean option. And that is well, okay, let me back up 1 second. That DDA still feels that Tree Great is the best option over some of those other like synthetic forest paved type of things that could be used, or even the mulching and flowers need to be maintained every year. So the DDA still wanted to pursue replacing the tree grates with the iron tree bases so that it's not something that needs to be maintained or replaced every year. So the first option is the most scaled back option, and that is the one that keeps the trees exactly where in their current locations, along with basically saw cutting the concrete, installing the tree grates, and then only removing trees that are too large for the existing tree grate to be installed. Based on an earlier estimate that I got from masonry and cost of tree grates, I would probably say, I would estimate that option would probably cost no more than $80,000 to $90,000. Again, that's not replacing most of the trees or in any standardization. So the second option is the option that we're looking at, and that this is the option that the DDA board recommends pursuing. Really looking at doing that just for the overall long-term beautification, long-term maintenance, and creating a project and a streetscape that would be more of a legacy long-term project. After talking with Benchmark Engineering, really we determined that electricity was a large portion of the cost that was driving up the cost of the project. And that was that not only pull boxes at every tree, which we didn't really like the look of, also trying to excavate, install the concrete and all of that while doing the electric, that it just grew the project on a much larger scale. So the bid, the option that the DDA board is recommending is to rebid the project with, without any electric going to the trees, that could be, project could be done in the future, whether we choose to do that with a lighting project or continue going down the route we currently do with holiday lighting. Just removing the electricity completely from that whole project. Also, this option does include still removing the first bag of the concrete, standardizing the tree, removing the trees, and installing the tree grate. As we looked at it, we met with several local nurseries and tree removal vendors, and we feel that could possibly be bid out separately, and that could even be a separate fundraising effort. I know currently Charlevoix is doing a fundraising effort to maintain their lights they put in, and so I mean this is something that we can also look at apart from the infrastructure cost of the tree grates and the installation. But at this point, I don't think we have an accurate estimate as to what option 2 would cost without rebidding it. And that's why the DDA board is recommending going back and rebidding it without the tree removal, without trees, and without the electric involved in the project. And the information that I got from Benchmark was that just because of the electric was making it so much more complicated, even with standardization, that we might see quite a bit different in the bids that we get back. So if you have any questions.
Good job, Margot. Personally, I think we should look at the option 2, but I think you should have all those options as options and rebid it, have each one of those options as a bid item. And then when we get it, all the numbers back, then we can pick and choose. You know, we see where a base number is, and then we still can add option A, B, C, D, whatever they may be.
By the different options, you mean removing like the first flag as one as opposed to saw cutting, or
well, if we're gonna look at that, but like the electrical, leave the electrical in there, but as an option.
no.
Leave the tree removal in there and replacement, but as an option. These guys bidding on this, it's another 10, 20 minutes to make a phone call and have somebody look at it. You're gonna look at it anyway. So I would just put them in there as line items. It's not, a bidder like me is going to look at it and go, you're going to make a phone call to a local guy, and you will have all the numbers right there in front of you. And if you want to fundraise and do separate things, so be it.
My only concern with that was when I spoke with Benchmark, that they felt that keeping some of those, particularly electric, in the project, that it was driving up the cost. I mean, we can leave it as a line item, but that would be my only concern, that are we getting a real cost on that estimate?
Well, when Benchmark, well, you're not understanding, Benchmark does a proposal, they leave it as an option. It's not, you have your base bid and then you have your options. Like, so the electrical is only an option. It's not part of your base bid. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes. Yep.
So that, I mean, that's it. Maybe it's too expensive. We don't want to do it. My feeling is if we're tearing up the sides of the streets and we're redoing all this, if nothing else, we should look at being able to put in the infrastructure. Maybe we don't put the electrical in right away, but at least the piping could possibly get placed.
One option that we discussed, that I discussed with both Dan Huey and Squires with the electric, Squires was not real happy with the idea of going underground. He liked the idea ultimately of changing out the light posts and going with an option that included outlets on the light posts and doing the wiring and the lighting from that direction as opposed from above instead of underground.
Okay. Well, and again, you know, that's Dan's the electric guy, and that's, if that's her opinion, then absolutely we go with that.
That was one of the reasons that helped us to move, motivate it, to remove it from this bid.
Yep. That makes sense? Okay.
Let me jump in here for a second and say that we have looked at this quite a bit over the last 6 months since last in front of council, and have pared it back and pulled out the electrical into a possible another project, which is in our downtown plan for lighting, where we might include that with it. Our direction from council was to bring it back about this time of year to go out for bid in a different fashion. And that's what we're asking for your permission to do.
I would support that. I mean, I think it's a nice project that we definitely need to look into. Of course, budget time and with all the projects, we need to, it should be a discussion to look at.
Having sat through quite a number of meetings related to this project, I think that the work that's been done has been a significant investment in time and money already. Margot's time, her salary, certainly paying Benchmark for the work that they've done. And I think that with what we've learned about the project, the interaction of the different options, that option 2 is the right way to go. I mean, it would be, I don't think it would be a good idea to revisit the minutia that Margot and Catherine and others have gone through in these meetings. But I think the electrical, given what we've learned, does not belong underground, particularly with a future project to look at lighting downtown. I think there's an alternative there to allow us to do a good job with the tree grates, solving the original problem that we set out to solve. And I think we should, now again, I agree also with Victor, let's really get into this when we look at the budget discussion. But today I feel that option 2 is the best way to go. And there's a lot of rationale behind that.
I agree with that.
So why don't we, do we need a motion to ask them to go ahead and get bids based on option 2? Is that what we're looking for?
Well, Nancy, I think the DDA came here for an update to let you know with the options, and they eventually would want council to decide on an option. My recommendation is to wait till December 14th, the budget discussion, because we didn't include in the original CIP, I gave you the amended CIP today for $100,000 budget for 2021 expense for the tree grates. But I think we should have that discussion for 2021 budget, what that could look like, because if this project is happening in 2021, which I think the DDA and a lot of people want to have in 2021, we really need to look at what our finances will be for 2021 and what, if anything, we need to move around in our budget to make this work for 2021. So my recommendation would be wait till the budget hearing, and then December 21st, we'll vote on the budget to adopt a budget, and then I feel council can direct council in whatever direction, council can direct DDA in whatever direction council seems is appropriate. I know
Kathy
DDA
or
wants
Margot, I'm sorry.
I think in January, they'll be able to bid it in January, which I think is give them enough time to get bids back for a potential spring or even if need be a fall project.
All righty.
Kathy or Margot, real quick, are you guys still looking at maybe doing this in phases, or you want to look at trying to get it all done at once?
Not my choice to do it in phases.
Okay. It wouldn't be mine either. I would look at getting this all done at once.
Absolutely. It's not that big of a downtown.
It's really not. So
That was John, I believe that was proposed at one point as a potential cost reduction, but a cost reduction it would not be. And given the disruption to the downtown, I would say it should all be, well, again, for future decision, but for discussion purposes, it should all be done at once. Let's just get it over with.
Yeah, I agree. Thanks, ladies. Good job.
Good job.
Thank you.
Lots of work.
There is one public comment from Daniel Mulder, says option 1 is a very expensive patchwork Band-Aid approach to a legacy project. Would council like to leave the brick detail as a line item option? So
I think we should.
And that is something that can be quoted, I believe, as an option, and it would make sense to those people bidding the project.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Okay.
I guess so. Well, thanks for that presentation. I mean, that update, Margot and Kathy. We'll, after our budget discussion on December 14th, I think December 21st, we'll come back with a recommendation from council on how to go forward with the bidding.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to the next agenda item, which is 3D. Not 3D, but it's not in 3D. I'm sorry. Main Street, Zoll Street Spillway Landscaping Design Selection. So Tim Knudsen is here from the Beckett and Rader that has been working on this project with us several months now. We posted a survey on our website, getting residents' opinions on the different options. And they came back pretty overwhelmingly, about 50% like the one option with the boulders. So that was a majority of the people, 25% like another option, 25% like the second option. So the third option though with the boulders was the preferred option. And Tim will go over a little bit in detail the results, but basically this is a project that we originally budgeted for $30,000. The cost estimate with contingencies come to $53,000. However, that's not necessarily the cost that the city would have to pay. We have a donor who's committed to paying $12,000. And after looking at the project, I think we could do this project. There's part of this project we necessarily don't have to do right now. And that part of the project is putting up the kiosk and the bollard lighting, because we would only want to put those up if we want to, if that is turned into pedestrian bike path. If it's not a bike path or a pedestrian walkway, the state says no, then there's no point in having that kiosk there. And then the second part that I think that we can eliminate $7,000 for now is the concrete work, expanding that sidewalk. That's not necessary. Again, if it's not able to be a pedestrian or bike path, then there's no need to expand the concrete there. So that automatically wipes out another $12,000. So $24,000 brings us down to $30,000, and that's with contingencies, which could likely put us, we usually don't meet those contingencies. We actually budgeted a big amount of contingencies for this project. So it's more likely going to cost the city from our city general fund probably between $20,000 and $25,000 if we go with my recommendation there. So at this point though, I'll let Tim just do a brief overview of the design, and he provided me with an updated cost sheet as well that we'll get to at the end. But Tim, if you want to take it away.
Sure. So this is Tim Knudsen from Beckett and Rader. I don't want to take up a whole lot of your time, so we'll try to move through this relatively quickly. But we started working with the city back in, I believe it was August, to come up with a site plan for the spillway and the area on the north side of City Hall. So we presented the first slide or first drawing. We can go back to that first drawing at the top there. This was our initial sketch, consisting of landscaping mostly on one side or the other of the walk. We had a consensus from that August meeting that the landscaping really belonged on the street side of the walk in order to get a better buffer between pedestrians and the street. The other element on here that probably met with the most question was the low cheek wall, the semicircular cheek wall that we had engineered in to possibly serve as like an identity marker for City Hall. So we were asked to look at another possible option instead of that cheek wall, which would be either a boulder wall, and then a third option, which turned out to be loose boulders. So Victor is scrolling through the elevations right now. These are the elevations that we prepared that you would see if you're looking at the corner, moving eastbound through town and at the intersection of Main and Zoll. So we presented these three options at the last meeting. Victor mentioned already the opportunity for possible partial donation of the project. So You can see we also changed the plan to incorporate those spruce in the center. So all of this information has been or will be provided to the city, but basically the City Hall site plan survey that accompanied our presentation when we presented in October. We asked a number of questions just to get a sense of what people felt regarding the current space, and then asked them for their preference between the three plans A, B, and C. And if we go to that second page of the survey there, we can see, there was a 2-to-1 preference for site plan B, which was the version with the loose boulders. A1 was the masonry wall, and A2 was the solid boulder wall. And then a number of comments from survey respondents. There were some additional, comments in support of and opposing. However, pretty clear reading the comments that most of the comments were in support and not opposing. So that leads us to the last plan, which is a version of Plan B2 with some minor changes that we made based on the last meeting. So on the lower, I guess it'd be left-hand side of the sheet, where the City Hall sign would be relocated to, we had a big bed of perennials and annuals there. And there was a really good request to maybe simplify that in terms of maintenance by clearing out those perennials and letting some smaller native shrubs, much less maintenance intensive, serve the duty of showing off the sign. The other change we made was at the top right-hand side of the sheet, right above where it says existing walkway. We had 3 larger trees programmed in there. It seemed like there was some hesitation regarding what they may do to views from across East Main Street. So we're showing those as future items, but left them out of the immediate plan and cost estimate. So, so that's the plan we came up with. And then on the following page would be the elevation, and then a last page describing the cost estimate that Victor summarized before we started. So are there any questions, anything that we didn't pick up on the plan from last meeting?
No, well presented. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have no questions.
I think it looks really good. And Victor, I particularly appreciate the thought that you put into it and parsing the expenses associated with the overall plan to ease into it and only spend as needed. So well done.
Thank you.
I'm going to jump in here, and we tend to be pretty conservative with our estimates, but I completely agree with Victor regarding the contingencies. Construction, with construction in particular, I just don't anticipate, bumping up against that contingency.
Yeah, I'm just a fan of the solid rock wall versus, just a little piles of rocks. But other than that, I like their layout.
Thank you.
So if, I guess we'd be looking for a motion from council whether or not to proceed with the option that's recommended with my additional recommendations of holding off on the concrete sidewalk site improvements as well as site furnishings, and then bid out for, or call a few landscaping companies up to see what kind of bids we can get for the project as presented.
Well, I would make that motion.
Second.
Yep. Leo, who seconded that one? I missed that one.
No.
I did, but so did Al. I think doesn't matter.
All right. A comes before N, so we'll give it to Al.
Okay.
Okay, I will do a roll call. Matt Boogera,
Yes.
John Cox,
Yes.
Nancy Rondell,
Yes.
John Leo,
Yes.
Al Dika.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Great. Thank you so much, Tim. Thank you for your help, and we'll be in touch about going forward with this, and we really appreciate the time you've put into this. It's been
Great.
awkward with COVID trying to get public input, but we managed to get some public input, so that matters.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Great working with you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tim.
Bye-bye.
All right, moving on to 3E, which is the Skydive Harbor Springs assignment and assumption of lease agreement. This is pretty standard stuff. It doesn't happen often, but Skydive Harbor Springs leased, I think, the terminal building property at the airport, which obviously Harbor Springs is a member of the airport authority. And they no longer are operating there, and they want to assign their lease to, I believe his name is Michael Fisher. We have all those, the legal documents are in there. Jim Raymer drafted up those lease documents. So if you have any specific questions, you can ask him about that. But this is pretty standard. I mean, it's not common, but it's fairly straightforward. So I recommend an approval. None of the other Bill Dome or the other airport authority people saw anything of concern here. So recommend allowing me to sign and approving it.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
You got it, John.
Oh, sorry, Al.
Yeah. Okay, not to be redundant with the roll calls, but being how we're on the phone and Zoom, we need to identify each person. Nancy Rondell,
Yes. Yes.
Al Dika,
Yes.
Matt Boogera,
Yes.
John Leo,
Yes.
and John Cox.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Moving on to item 3F. Bear with me a few seconds till I get there in my packet. All right, aerial flight donation. So Emmett County provides GIS mapping for the municipalities in the county. Harbor Springs, we definitely rely on that aerial photography and the GIS. Actually, I put the link to the website there. The public, anyone from the public can go there and use that interactive map and view parcels and a bunch of different information, layers, parcel ID, et cetera, et cetera. Well, they want to update, the county wants to update the resolution, so improve the quality of the maps that we have. And these maps help us with planning, zoning purposes, our utility purposes. So we use it across for a variety of reasons. So the county is looking to do 212 square mile update of the Little Traverse Bay area. And that total cost will cost about $21,000 for 10 municipalities. Obviously, the county has some budgetary constraints, and they're asking that the municipalities contribute so they can proceed with this project. As I mentioned, the tool is valuable. It's not impossible, to do the work without the improvements. We can still do our work. It just makes it a little bit easier when there's better resolution especially for figuring out property lines and things on people's properties like trees and structures, et cetera. But I talked with the city of Petoskey. They're proposing, I don't know if they've passed it yet, but they were proposing to contribute $5,000. If we contribute, I'm proposing that we contribute $1,500. We do have a smaller population and only 1.3 square miles, so it seems like that $1,500 is out of proportion for this amount of square miles we have. But we do have a higher parcel count per capita and per area, and our electric and water systems extend well beyond the city limits. I mean, we go for electric lines all the way to Petoskey Brewery, so we do have a much wider reach for utilities. But we also need to be cognizant of our own budgetary constraints as well. So I'll leave it up to council to decide if they want to contribute or if they want to decrease or increase the amount that I suggested. I do know some of our staff would definitely like to improve resolution, but we rely on the county for this anyway. So either it's going to happen this year or not. So I'll leave it up to the council to discuss. And
Yeah, the only question I had was how was the county, dividing that up amongst all the municipalities?
Right.
Kind of
they're
thing.
just
So
they're just asking for contributions. They're not making any recommendation for who should donate what. They just asked for contributions. And Petoskey, knowing that Petoskey city manager there said Rob said they use this often, and for them it's a big benefit.
Yeah, I've used it. It is a nice tool.
Oh, it's an amazing tool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would agree. I mean, whatever you're comfortable with here, I mean, I would agree to it.
Yeah, I think we're at $1,500. I think we're comfortable with that here. We're only 1.3 square miles of a 212 square mile project, but we do extend with the utility systems out, and I think
right, but like West Traverse, Pleasant View, Little Traverse, I mean, their boards are also looking at donating, correct?
Yes, I don't know. There's 10 municipalities. I know Rob at Petoskey was going to contact Little Traverse and Bear Creek and Resort to see what they would do to encourage them to contribute a little bit.
Yep. Okay.
And maybe one day when the county's in a better financial shape, we can ask them to contribute money to a project we have.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think 1,500 is a fair. I'm sure I actually use that, and I'm sure you guys at the city use it a lot. So I think that's a fair donation considering our size and our outreach with our utilities. I guess I would make a motion if we're ready to do that. You ready, Matt? We ready to do that?
Ready? Go for it, Nancy.
I would make a motion that we donate 1,500 toward the, what's it called? Update on the photos for the GIS system to the Emmett County.
Nancy made that motion.
I'll second it.
Nick's still there?
I don't know what happened.
Hey, Nick.
I think we lost the city, actually.
All right, we're having a little technical difficulty. Just give us 1 second.
Yeah.
All right, I think we're back on. So Nancy
Yes.
made that motion, and who seconded?
Yeah.
Okay, Nick, we can do a roll call. Al.
Yes, Matt Bulgara,
Yes.
John Leo,
Yes.
John Cox,
Yes.
Al Dyka,
Yes.
Nancy Rondell.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Echo, yeah. There's an echo.
Thank you. Moving on to item 3G. This is the West 3rd Street undercut bid selection. This is for a section of failed road, basically, that we have between Washington and Traverse Street on West 3rd Street. The asphalt is cracked, the water's pulling on top of the road, and it's pretty immediate, necessary to make that fix. We anticipated this would cost around $90,000. You see the bid in front of you. We received 6 bids. Spearling Trucking came at the lowest at $92,000, but of course we have a policy where we evaluate the more holistic approach to bidding, and Lucas, Nick, and I both evaluated the bids, and Spearling did again come out on top with 112 points total. So we are making the recommendation to go ahead with Spearling Trucking and Excavating to perform this work. They came, right about in that area of $90,000. So it makes sense. And Lucas felt he's worked with all of these companies, and all of them are very capable and have done work in the city. So there wasn't really a reason, for caution for one or not over the other.
Sperling's done a lot of work in the city, so I'm comfortable with that. Is this part of our budget discussion, or is this something that's already been in the works?
This is not been in the works for that long, but it was recognized as an more urgent need. And so it's going to hit the 2021 budget.
Okay.
And so it'll come across on your budget. It'll be from the streets Does it come from the streets fund? Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I would make a motion that we approve the
John.
bid submitted by Spearling.
Second.
Motion by John, second by Al.
Okay, the roll call, folks. Nancy Rondell,
Yes.
John Leo,
Yes.
Matt Bulgara,
Yes.
Al Dyke,
Yes.
Al Dyke?
Yes.
Yes, he said yes.
John Cox.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. I'm sure you had a chance to review all our accompanying documentation there, so there's no need to go through it. We're on to 3H now, I believe, and that is for the Bay Street water sewer system project, improvements to our water sewer system there. We had this on our CIP and scheduled, slated for 2021. Well, it actually was on our it was on our radar for several years here at the city, but we kept on pushing it back. So we anticipated the project to cost about $150,000. We received, again, 6 bids. Benchmark recommended that we have a 20% contingency. So the bids that you see there, you'll see one price on the left, which is what the company submitted, and then the other price in parentheses is including a 20% contingency. So again, staff evaluated all of these, and Northern Excavating came in at top with 115 points. So we're making a recommendation to award the bid to Northern Excavating.
Is this the project we put on hold last year because of dewatering costs?
Yes, this is the one.
Okay, and these guys are comfortable that they can do it this year without any problems?
Yep, we were comfortable enough. I mean, that's why we budgeted 20% for contingencies, and that got us up to the $150,000. So we were anticipating it was probably going to come in at $150,000 with maybe 20% additional contingencies. But since Northern Excavating came in so low, that with the contingencies associated for any dewatering costs, that's why you see their bid of 126, and we estimate if we have to use all those contingencies, 151. So that's what we'll hold them to.
Okay, just wanted to make.
Yeah, that was my only question, with the water levels going to be about the same. So, I mean, I don't know what different, I mean, we might have to look at putting it off again.
Well, no, they built in the dewatering cost this time, so.
Okay.
I think that was the issue last year. They didn't include dewatering and.
Yeah, I remember water being a problem. I just don't remember what it was. So.
Yeah. All right. I'll make a motion that we accept Northern Excavating's bid for the Bay Street improvement project.
I'll second that.
John Cox,
Yes.
Al Dyke,
Yes.
Nancy Rondell,
Yes.
Matt Bulgara,
Yes.
John Leo.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, thank you. For the next item, it's 3J. This is for the land acquisition discussion. My recommendation is that since we have to go in closed session first, that we go into closed session and then we pick a time, and I would say maybe half an hour that we open back up to open session, because we'll have to boot everyone off of the Zoom. And then to go into open session to actually vote on this, we'll have to let people participate in that public discussion. So my recommendation is someone makes a motion going to closed session, and then say that we'll be back in open session at 8:45 p.m. That way everyone can come back on Zoom and YouTube and yeah.
Okay. Jim, could we have some language for our motion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we would need someone to make a motion to meet under Section 8D of the Michigan Open Meetings Act to consider the purchase or lease of real property up to the time an option to purchase or lease that real property is obtained.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Okay, Al Dyke,
Yes.
John Leo,
Yes.
John Cox,
Yes.
Nancy Rondell,
Yes.
Matt Bogera.
Yes.
We're now in closed session.
I ask everyone who is not staff or council to please leave the Zoom meeting and come back at 8:45. We'll kick you out if not.
Okay.
I wanna
Laying
do it.
down the law here.
Excuse me.